Dr. Ramsey, members of the school committee, Norton Public Schools, faculty, staff, and administrators, town officials, parents, families, honored guests, and members of the class of 2012. Right now, if you are in the audience, you are looking at a remarkable graduating class. The Norton High School class of 2012, as was told before, is the largest graduating class in Norton history with 179. They are Norton's best MCAS class ever. They have taken more AP classes and exams than any class in Norton history to this point. And with 95% of the class going on to post-secondary education, they are the class with the highest percentage in Norton history of students going on to higher education.
That's nice. That's great. Yeah, historical class. Making all these milestones.
Graduates, tonight as you sit here in the last common event you will have as a high school class, you have heard reflections from your classmates. You will hear advice from me, Dr. Amsay, and Mr. Mackey. You'll hear a little bit about Mr. Raymond Bedard, who was originally slated to be a member of the class of 1971, but who now joins you in the class of 2012. What you should probably take away from everything you hear today is this. You've learned a lot of stuff in high school. Your brains are full of facts, formulae, and definitions. You've learned a lot and will retain more than you could ever think possible. Almost daily, I'm able to recall some great tidbit of information from as far back as grade school to help me through my work or day. However, it is not the stuff that matters as much as the fact that you have learned how to learn. You problem solve, you ask questions, you look for the most straightforward solution to a problem. You work together, you persevere, you plan, you learn to change those plans on the fly. In short, you have learned to be effective. In a little while, you'll hear Ray Bedard's story. It is one of change and adaptation. Mr. Mackey will share with you the changes he has encountered on his journey to this stage. The message here is clear. A great life is not measured by how closely we're able to stick to any one plan we make for our futures. A great life is measured by how much satisfaction that we derive from how well we're able to meet the challenges we face. The most important things I learned in high school were not course-related. The most important things I learned were to have high expectations of myself and others around me, to persevere and to be flexible about everything else. I would have not had the 10 fantastic years I have had at Norton High School if this were not the case. The best parts of my life have been those things that have happened when my plans have changed. I've taught and worked in 6 different schools, in 2 different states, and 3 different continents. I've taught courses in 4 different subject areas. I've coached 5 different varsity sports and run a wide variety of student activities. I've also had the chance to travel much of the world because I was willing to look outside my box. I met my wife, a beautiful educator from Honduras, on my first stay at Academia Cotopaxi in Quito, Ecuador. We traveled throughout Latin America together until we decided to work in the Philippines. While we were there, we taught and also traveled throughout Asia and also to Australia and New Zealand. It was my experience abroad that helped me see administration as a possible career path. Otherwise, I would probably still be a teacher and a coach, possibly still at Cathedral High School in Boston where I started. Instead, my journey brought me here to Norton, where I've had the 10 best years of my professional life. Change will be part of all of your lives. Be aware of that. Understand that you are prepared for it. Value the education you have received here, not solely for what is on your transcript, but for the really important learning that will never show up in a grade. Walker Percy once wrote that it is possible to get straight A's, but fail life. Whether or not you get straight A's in your next endeavor, always strive to excel in living. High school has been what you have made of it, and you have made a lot of your 4 years. Norton High School is very proud of the class of 2012. For this reason, I am happy to present the members of the Norton High School class of 2012 to you, Dr. Amsay, as candidates for graduation.
I would first like to offer my congratulations to each member of the class of 2012 and wish you every success in the future. Remember, it isn't the size of the dog in the fight, but the size of the fight in the dog. What you are is our gift to you. What you make of yourself is your gift to us. We will be waiting and watching. And now, graduates, the world is waiting, and it's time to go. On an official note, I am pleased to be advised that each member on this stage tonight has met all the prescribed requirements for graduation. And because of this, I do accept the class of 2012 and Mr. Raymond Bedard for graduation. It is now my distinct pleasure to introduce to you the chairman of the Norton School Committee, Mr. Andrew Mackey, for his remarks, and then the presentation of diplomas. Mr. Mackey?
I'm not really Mr. Mackey. Before Mr. Mackey speaks, I want his words to be the last words to go to the graduates. If we could have Mr. Raymond Bedard stand up.
Yeah. He was to graduate in 1971.
Raymond Bedard Sr. grew up in Norton. He attended Norton Public Schools, including Norton High School, until 1971, when he left Norton High to join the military. Mr. Bedard served his country in Vietnam during the last parts of the Vietnam War. In the service, he became a military dog handler, clearing tunnels with his dog, Moo. Mr. Bedard was an active member of the military until 1978. He married and had 2 children, moved to Plainville to become a firefighter paramedic for 3 years, and then joined the Norfolk County Sheriff's Department as a K-9 deputy sheriff and paramedic. He served in this capacity until his retirement. Mr. Bedard is now retired to a farm in Rehoboth where he lives with his wife. Mr. Bedard wrote, "I never had the chance to graduate with my class in 1971, and I remember all the good times youth brings at a young age. But I did what I had to do, and I am proud of my accomplishments in life serving my country and my community. I'm also proud of my family. This opportunity that Norton High School has given me tonight is the greatest gift I could get for my birthday tomorrow." Good timing.
Yeah, I know. Oh, wow, birthday present. Yeah, he's going for
Class of 2012, we speak to you often about the importance of a high school diploma. Tonight, you get to graduate with somebody who has waited 41 years to get his. Dr. Ansay, I will now call the name of the candidate for an honorary diploma at Norton High School. Please do the honor of presenting the diploma. An honorary Norton High School diploma is now presented to Raymond E. Bedard, Sr.
That was nice. I got it on tape too. But worth it. I'm so glad for it. Oh. Okay, so much for
Welcome, everyone. Congratulations again to the class of 2012. When preparing for the speech, I thought of a number of ideas, but was unable to make any really work. I thought of just using my speech from 2 years ago. Who would know the difference, right?
yeah,
Eventually, I started looking at what I could find on the internet for ideas. What I came across were mostly college graduation commencement speeches. Most were from famous people, Steve Jobs, Oprah Winfrey, Colin Powell, even Conan O'Brien and Amy Poehler. One place even had Kermit the Frog.
Oh dear.
Many of them had a common theme, sharing a bit of their life, the obstacles they faced, and the unexpected twists and turns that led to them where they were today. What was interesting was they each took a different, very unique path. I then realized that my own path was a bit of a long and winding road, as yours very well may be. And as you venture into the world, you too will follow your own path, complete with its own detours and surprises. Perhaps at some point, you hear about the twists and turns of life from a big-name commencement speaker like Kermit. But for high school, you're stuck with me. I grew up in a small town about halfway between here and Boston. Although I started out high school as a strong student, year to year I had less and less interest in academics. Upon graduation, I went to Berklee College of Music to study guitar and dreamed of becoming a professional musician, perhaps even famous. But after my second year at Berklee, I began to realize that I no longer enjoyed music school. The structure and environment had turned it into a chore rather than fun. I also began to realize that while I was pretty good, I really didn't have the talent needed to be really good. But I thought, I'm 19 years old. I can't change now. My path is already set. Then I saw a TV show with a 51-year-old man who had been laid off and decided to go back to school and change careers. I thought, I guess if he can do it at 51, I can do it at 19. But what should I do? It was like having a midlife crisis, but at 19 years old. I tried to think of the one thing I would do if I could do anything at all with my life, and immediately thought of becoming a physician. What could be better? You get to help people, learn about how the fascinating body works, or doesn't, and to boot, make a decent living. What's not to like? Now I had to figure out how to get to my goal. I read in the Boston Globe about the Harvard Extension School. Go to Harvard at night for reasonable tuition, the same professors as during the day, and come away with a bachelor's degree. Too good to believe. I called them to find out what the catch was and was told there wasn't one. And they had a pre-med program. Now I had an actual plan. It turned out to be tougher than I expected. It was a big change from Berklee, and I had to work my tail off. And I wasn't able to devote myself solely to my studies. I had to work to get through school. Sometimes I would take classes full-time and work part-time, sometimes the opposite. Near the end, I realized that although I had solid grades, they weren't high enough to assure me entry into medical school. So I had to figure out what to do. Do I go for a master's and hope to put me in a better position in medical school? Do I work as a lab tech? What to do? It turns out that before I left Berklee, I met a girl, now my wife. And she had a brother who was a physician assistant. She told me that PAs go to an abbreviated version of medical school and then practice medicine under the direction of a physician. I was skeptical. Again, it sounded too good to be true. But he was kind enough to let me shadow him for a day and see for myself. At the time, he worked in neurology, mainly taking care of patients with Lou Gehrig's disease. During that day, I saw him do many things that doctors do, including spinal taps. That impressed me. And also, I got to see him have a profound conversation with a 73-year-old man in the end of his life. I was sold. I knew now that being a physician assistant was what I wanted to do. So my last year of college, I applied to the Yale Physician Assistant program and was thrilled to be accepted. And I lived happily ever after. Well, not quite. In my last semester, I had been working too many hours as an EMT, and I also was taking a computer science course that required 30 hours of homework a week. And I didn't own a personal computer. What a recipe for disaster. In the end, my professor threatened to fail me, which meant I wouldn't graduate and couldn't go on to Yale. In the end, he gave me a D, and although it was the only one I ever got, I was happy for it. So off to New Haven I went. While the next 2 years were challenging, and at times I thought it would never end, at least I was doing what I wanted to do. I married the girl halfway through, and when I graduated, I had my first pick job waiting for me. I've now been in practice over 20 years and love my job. Okay, Mr. School Committee guy, what's the point of all this? Well, in closing, first, know that things don't always work out how you planned, but they do work out. As you rise out of the protective and nurturing valley of high school and home, look around and pick a hill to climb. When you get to the top of that hill, you'll see others to choose from, and you can decide which to climb next. Second, be persistent, but be flexible. Sometimes what you initially set out to do isn't what's going to make you most happy. Lastly, this is your life. It'll be your path made by your choices. Class of 2012, congratulations, and good luck as you find your way down the long and winding road of your own life.
Yeah. Well, diplomas.
We also do have some diplomas to give out tonight. 179 of them, the most ever. Please, while we were reading the names, please understand that everyone deserves to have their name heard. Everyone deserves to have their moment walking across the stage, so please respect that and save the real noise for